jump.
And the Tigers regain the lead.
The Game.
A Cromwell Media Station.
All the big topics.
That's what people want to know about.
Mixed with some entertainment.
So funny.
It's not funny.
Give it a minute.
This is Chase and Michelle with Chase McCabe and Michelle Knezovic.
We got a great show for you, and even if we don't, who cares?
Chase and Michelle on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
What up, Nashville? Welcome back in to Chase and Michelle, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Chase McCabe, Michelle Knezovic, Nick Keyser. I am back off the suit duties. Hope you're having a fantastic Thursday morning so far. We got a great show planned for you, as we typically do. A lot to get into. More with the draft, quarterback prospects. Greg Wyshynski going to join us, NHL on ESPN at 9:45. As the regular season wrapping up in the National Hockey League. And then Jill Jalnick, Fox 17 sports director, will join us at 10:30 because she was at the press conference yesterday when the Titans made it official. Jeffrey Simmons, contract extension, a guy that is a huge part of this team. But excited to be back in the saddle today. You and Junnie did a fantastic job. Actually, what's funny is this is the only show you and I are doing together this week because you're off tomorrow. But
today is my Friday, y'all.
Today is your Friday, and Junnie going to step back in tomorrow, so he's done a great job. Just a Swiss Army knife, if you will, and the reporter behind the glass. But it's been a good week.
It's been a great week, Chase. It really has. The weather is finally cooperating. It was nice to have Junnie in here. Nice to have you back. Like I said, today is my Friday.
It's okay. You don't have to lie. I mean, I know you like Junnie better. That's fine.
No.
I'm kidding.
Listen, when I'm with you, I can have the role of I don't have to worry about the promos and the break times and everything.
Nice.
I can just kind of sit back and give my 2 cents. But no, it was the youngins running the show. Dwight from Hopkinsville, who always texts in. He texts in and said, because Nick brought up a stat of the last time the Predators missed the playoffs, he was in 9th grade, and we all were like, yeah, I think that's about how old we were. And somebody texted in and was like, the professor, the reporter, and Junnie, the young ones today. And I was like, yeah, that's.
I didn't even think about that, but yeah, I mean, that was my first year covering the team.
Yeah,
really. I mean, I had been here.
And Barry's. Right, was that his last season?
Yeah, Barry's
his last season.
Year, which is funny. It's full circle.
Full
but
circle moment, yeah.
That was his. Was that the lockout year?
No, the year before.
After. Okay, so that was my second year covering the team. My first year was the lockout year, and then so they missed the playoffs in the lockout year because that was right after the whole Suter deal, and then that's right. And so that was Forsberg. Forsberg played 5 games that year at the end of the season, and then they missed the playoffs. And I remember going to that press conference, and it was Barry's goodbye. So, wow, hard to believe. But they will wrap up the regular season. It was supposed to be tonight. Obviously, they have the rescheduled game against Colorado. That'll be tomorrow, and then that will be it. And we'll see what happens with the offseason with the Nashville Predators. But offseason very much in full swing for the Tennessee Titans, and they introduced Jeffrey Simmons yesterday. And I wanted to touch – I mean, I know we've covered this, and – sorry about that. Wrong button. The news hit on Friday that he had signed the contract extension, and you knew he was going to be back. And you also knew they were going to get this done because Rand Carthon had made it pretty clear that that's what he wanted to do. You know, he wanted to make that one of his first big things that he got done. But when I listened to Jeffrey Simmons, and I was at his press conference when he was drafted, and I just remember walking away from that going like, you know what? I think I'm really going to like this guy because he's genuine, and he, you know, even then, like, opened up about his past and mistakes he had made and, you know, things that were well documented. And it was like, yes, it still is brought up sometimes, but it was kind of like you walked away that day and go, okay, yeah, that's not going to be a concern here. And it hasn't been. And he has been an absolute perfect example of what you want an NFL player to be. And that is why I believe he's a pillar that you want to build this new group around. I think you can view him as a transitional piece as well as they go from one era into the next with this Titans team, because like the Predators, the Titans, I believe, are a team in transition.
Chase, I completely agree. And, you know, we can talk about the level of play Jeffrey Simmons brings out every single week, every single Sunday in the fall and throughout practice, but some of the intangibles he has, like his work ethic, the way he can speak. I mean, when he stood up there and spoke yesterday, right? Powerful words, the way people look and talk to him in the locker room. All of those things are rare in players like that. I mean, some people have both, right? But the fact that they were able to draft him after, as you mentioned, he had some things in his past that steered some teams away, and they took a chance on him. He's grown to be one of the best at the position he plays, right behind Aaron Donald, and he has completely, taken advantage of every opportunity. He had a line yesterday about him growing up and his mom and something about how, his mom went to work every day to make it, possible for him and his 4 other siblings. And then he related that to him. He's like, how could I ever not, wake up and go to work every single day? And, when you think about that, sometimes you take things for granted. And I just thought he put it in perspective for, this is what I grew up as. And now, because every single day showing up to work and the work ethic and the type of person he chose to be when signing here with the Tennessee Titans, it's generational money. He'll be able to take care of his kids' after signing this contract. And just as far as having him be a pillar, you talk about Kevin Byard, you put him in the same conversation. 2 of the leaders on defense, Derrick Henry, good people, not only great players, but good people in your organization. And I think if you're Amy Adams-Strunk, if you're Rand Carthon, that's all you can ask for.
Yeah, no doubt. This was Jeffrey Simmons yesterday, and I mean, again, when you listen to him talk, you can hear the emotion, you can hear how happy and how much it truly means to him that the Titans made this kind of investment in him.
It's crazy, I think, man, just from house to house, apartment to apartment, sharing a bed with my brother. Now we good. It's just not, my kids, this generational wealth, as we call it, like, that's why I do it for, man. Every day I wake up, I just think about them hard times where I know my mom didn't feel like it. And for some time I could be like, I'm hurting. But I think about my mom having to raise 5 kids on her own. And for me to say, I don't want to do this, that's my motivation, my family. So sorry about that, but man, this is, I'm grateful, I'm excited. I never saw myself wearing anything but the two-tone blue other than, holding up a Super Bowl ring and a gold jacket. So that's the only thing I ever saw myself outside of wearing the two-tone blue. So like I said, I'm excited, and the work just really getting started.
That was Jeffrey Simmons yesterday, and I love that. And, I mean, you remember at the end of the year last year, after the game, after the season was over, and he gets emotional at the locker, and I think you were there with him, talking about having to shoot his ankle up every week or whatever it was. And but that's a guy that, like, he loves football, he loves his teammates, like he's just, and you hear it in his voice, and that's genuine, and they need more guys like that.
Well, Chase, he let us into his why yesterday.
Yeah.
He let us into his why I wake up every single day and do this. And sometimes it's easy to look at them and think they have, so much money. They're playing in the NFL. The NFL is king. It is, the most popular sport in America. Everybody sits on their couches on Sundays to watch these guys on national television. And a lot of times it's easy to sit back and talk about them like, this player isn't playing to their expectations and things like that. And seeing and talking to Jeffrey Simmons week after week in season and him saying, I'm fine, my ankle's fine. And then going a whole season long and him kind of letting us in and saying, all season, and he broke down that last week, and then yesterday he kind of lets us in on the why I play, the why I, get up every single day and put my body through this. And, I think it's pretty admirable. He got up there and, a day of he's getting this amazing payday, but also letting in to be like, here's what I went through. And that, you get emotional. Nobody likes getting emotional in front of people like that, but I think, it speaks to his character. It speaks to the type of person he is. And fans should be excited. Fans should be excited that they signed him, because
I feel like they are.
That is the last thing you wanted, was an A.J. Brown situation 2.0.
Sure. So that was that happened yesterday. And again, we'll get more on that with Jill Jelnick and other things with the Titans coming up at 10:30. Did want to pass this along because I just saw this from the Chicago Blackhawks. Their GM, Kyle Davidson, making this statement that is pretty significant, actually. Quote, "I've had a number of conversations with Jonathan Toews throughout the season about his future with the Blackhawks, and recently we had the difficult conversation that we won't be re-signing him this offseason. Tonight will be his final game as a Blackhawk, and it was very important to us to be able to provide the proper send-off for Jonathan and our fans. He has done so much for the organization, and no matter where he plays next, we're excited our fans get the chance to show Jonathan exactly how much he means to them," end quote. Nick, I don't know about you. I think he retires.
Yeah, I don't think he stays in hockey. I think just the way he's been sounding the last couple of weeks when he's been asked that question, it's, look, I've put my body through this for so long, and I've been reading Marian Hossa's book, Chase, actually, and just the amount of physical toll that, some of these teams went through, and they were teammates for a long time. The fact that Hossa retired because he had a skin condition and age as well, but Toews has gone through the ringer. He's won several Stanley Cups. He just lost his best friend to the New York Rangers, and, he's just not going to be part of this rebuild. That's probably what they were talking about in that hard conversation was, we have to move on. So that's a really tough one.
Yeah, and I'll say this, no love lost between the Predators and the Blackhawks and the rivalry there. But I know I can speak for myself. I have always had a ton of respect for Jonathan Toews. Whether you like him or you don't like him, you got to respect him. And
what he's done in the league.
Sure, yeah, what he's done with the league and the 3 cups and being a part of that run there. So if I had to guess, he's probably lacing him up for the last time tonight. But you never know. He could decide that he wants to play again, and a team that needs veteran leadership would be lucky to have a guy like that. But we will see. But wanted to pass that along as the Blackhawks will wrap up their season tonight and continue their rebuild. Up next, though, we will give you our question of the day, and this is one that Michelle has posed and got me thinking yesterday. I think you will do the same thing. That's on Chase and Michelle, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
He knows the ins and outs of the Titans and isn't afraid to give his opinion.
Traylon Burks needs a massive offseason.
He's Jonathan Hutton of Outkick.
I don't see how they make a move without going to Ryan Tannehill.
Catch him every Monday at 10:30 on Chase and Michelle, and every Wednesday at noon on Caroline, Willie, and D-Mace. Brought to you by Blend Bar with Davidoff Cigars. Hutton is on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Now that you've taken on that big job, you shouldn't have to settle for the big box. You've earned a trip to Northern Tool, and we're ready for the details. We know all about the little things that make the biggest difference. Maybe that's why they call us a problem solver's paradise. From pressure washers to power tools, pallet jacks to push carts, Northern Tool and Equipment carries the brands you depend on, like North Star, DeWalt, Milwaukee, and Strongway. We're made for this. Come see us in store or shop online at northerntool.com.
Does this sound familiar? Did your agent provide excellent entertainment with their TikTok videos and constant social media posts about themselves while completely ignoring that you hired them to sell your home? Did they tell you how wonderful they were? How many followers they had? They probably never sold your home, but hey, they did get 15 likes on their selfies. Hashtag my clients love me. Don't let that happen to you. Google TJ Anderson Homes and see why the only likes we care about are our clients loving our service. Ask us about our prepay with TJ option and how it can save you thousands. TJ Anderson Homes of Benchmark Realty. Office number 615-432-2919.
What if you could be credit card debt-free in 10 days and save as much as $1,000 a month? Loan Pronto's all-new Express Equity Line of Credit program is just what you need. Willie Donick here. You don't have to do a full home refi. You can tap a small portion of the equity you have and enjoy a super low monthly payment. With Loan Pronto's Express Equity Credit Line, you can close in 7 to 10 days, and a $50,000 loan would only cost you around $400 a month. Use that money to pay off high-interest credit cards or do a home improvement. You can access up to 90% of your home's equity, and 9 out of 10 homeowners won't even need an appraisal. Even if you did a total refi recently or just bought your home, you can tap the equity with this fast, easy program. Stop the madness and say no to 24% interest fees. Call Loan Pronto today. 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780 or go to loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781, subject to lender approval.
Men, this is Evan Bass with the Tennessee Men's Clinic, and I've been helping men with sexual health issues for many years. I've seen the pain and anxiety that men walk into the clinic with when erectile dysfunction is affecting them. And I also know the heartache and difficulty it can bring to their partner. At the Tennessee Men's Clinic, we've been successfully treating men for ED for many years now. We've seen the amazing impacts that those treatments have on a man's confidence and positivity. And we've seen the wonderful things those treatments also do for a man's relationship. That's why I'm pleased to announce that we are now offering the same great services we offer at our Nashville clinic at our new location in Franklin, which will make it much more convenient for those men living south of Nashville to get treated. So call us today and book your appointment at our Midtown location or at our new clinic in Cool Springs. Your first visit is only $99 and includes blood work and a medical consult. Call 615-208-9090. That's 615-208-9090 or go to TennesseeMen'sClinic.com.
Visit our website to learn more, including side effects, treatment, sex start, results vary.
Nashville Sounds Baseball lives on 94.9 The Fan. Catch every pitch.
Swing and a miss, strike 3.
Every hit.
That's a base hit.
Every run.
Looking up, it's gone.
On your home for Sounds Baseball. 94.9 The Fan and The Fan app.
Taking you through your mid-morning.
Love it.
Yeah, that's fantastic. This is Jason Michelle.
Where'd you find those crazy characters?
On 102.5 and 106.3, The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Jason Michelle, 102.5, 106.3, The Game. Hey, Preds fans, hang out tonight before the Preds. Just hang out tonight before the Preds take on Minnesota at the Superbook Lounge in Landshark Bar and Grill, Margaritaville. On Broadway with us, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. You can place your bets with Superbook and enjoy great food and drink specials. Plus, enter for a chance to win a pair of tickets to an upcoming Preds home game, which I guess is going to be next year. So,
yeah, it is.
There is one left after tonight, as they will wrap up their regular season both tonight and tomorrow. And so looking forward to that. You can interact with us at any time, especially with our question of the day at 615-737-1025, which is driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. So with that, without further ado, Michelle, our question of the day is?
Dun, 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 dun. I love doing the questions of the day because we always get people.
I know, it's fun.
We always get people thinking and texting in. Okay, so Junnie and I touched on this at the end of the show yesterday. If you were listening,
which you should have been.
Which you should have
always.
Been. Always. So this is what I'm posing to you. If you knew that at pick 11 you were going to get a Kirk Cousins or Ryan Tannehill type of quarterback. I need to preface that because I went back and listened to Junnie and I, and we got pretty off topic. Like, that is what
it's easy to do.
We got off topic and we started focusing on other things. But I just want you to think of type of play.
That's why I didn't do well in school.
Probably none of us did because we just wanted to talk about sports the whole time. So type of player, not the exact career trajectory that they have had, not the organizations they've been with, but I want you to think of type of player when it comes to their stat line, how efficient they are, turning the ball over, passing yards, all of those things. If you knew that ahead of time, would you draft that quarterback at number 11?
So you're basically just saying you could either get a Tannehill type or a Kirk Cousins type.
Yeah, and I think you can put other quarterbacks in that tier. I think you can put Jimmy G in with there. I think you can put Derek Carr
not elite,
in with
but
there.
Good. Solid.
Yeah. Not that elite level we talk about, but kind of that middle of the pack. I mean, some people put Jalen Hurts in there, right?
Yeah.
He was on a Eagles team this year that had everything great around him. phenomenal offensive line, elite wide receivers, great defense. Would you do that if you knew ahead of time at 11? And the reason I say yes is because I think when you look at these quarterback classes, and we can go and look at them over the years, the likelihood of somebody turning out elite, and I guess it depends on how you define elite, but when I think of elite, I have a very, very small category. The two people I am putting at the top are Patrick Mahomes and Joe Burrow. Those are the quarterbacks I put as elite in their own category. Then I think there's a tier below that where you can put Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Justin Herbert in there, Trevor Lawrence. I think you can put that down there. But, a lot of those guys are still pretty young in their career. So the likelihood of, taking a quarterback in the first round, I think it's fair to say you're more likely to bust on a quarterback than to draft an elite one.
Sure, absolutely. I mean, that's why they're elite, because it's hard to get them.
Very hard.
It's hard to identify. And I mean, I think we knew Joe Burrow, what he was going to be, but he still had to do it. I mean,
of course.
There were people that thought Jamarcus Russell was going to be elite, and we see he's the biggest bust in NFL history. So, maybe second. I don't know. Maybe Isaiah Wilson's up there too.
Yeah.
Who knows? But yeah.
Not to put salt in the wound, Titans fans.
But I think it's an interesting question that you pose. I'm going to say no, because this team has struggled to find their franchise elite guy since Steve McNair. And, I put Steve McNair in maybe not the Brady Manning category, but just under it. I mean, he was an MVP. Mm-hmm. He should have been MVP and not co-MVP. I'm still, sore about that. But, I mean, he led his team to a Super Bowl. I think he's a Hall of Famer if they win that Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. So but they have struggled to find a guy since then. I brought this up in a meeting yesterday, but, one time I was sitting here with Joe Dubin and we were kind of playing a what-if game. What if Vince Young had worked out? There were a lot of different circumstances with that, but I think that Vince Young had the potential, and potential gets coaches and GMs fired all the time, but he had the potential to be that guy and just wasn't. And there were a lot of different things. I think you can, Jeff Fisher would probably take some blame on it. Vince obviously should take some blame on it. They had terrible offensive coordinators. Mm-hmm. But the point is they haven't been able to find that guy. They tried with Locker. He wasn't it. Tried with Mariota. He wasn't it. And then they filled in with Matt Hasselbeck and Ryan Tannehill and Kerry Collins and guys like that. They haven't been able to find that. And so for me, that has lived all this and watched all this unfold, yes, Tannehill has been solid. He's been good. But you have to be elite around him. And this team has proven that they're not able to do that. I mean, they traded their number one receiver. So if that's going to be the case, then I don't want to settle for finding just good again.
But, you could reset the quarterback clock, and I think Hendon Hooker is probably one of the quarterback prospects that we've actually talked about that could be a comparison to a Kirk Cousins. I mean, Joe has brought up that comparison first, and, he watched Kirk at Michigan State. He obviously covered Hendon Hooker here, and people are all on the let's draft Hendon Hooker. Let's draft Hendon Hooker. And some people want to draft him at 11. Some people say no, try to get him in the second round. I don't think he will fall to the second round.
No,
but it's
fifth-year
about
option's too important.
It's about resetting that quarterback clock. So, when I look at it, and if you could draft a guy at 11, let's say Hendon Hooker, for example, and he turns out to be a longevity guy in the league, like a Ryan Tannehill, like a Kirk Cousins. I'll throw Jared Goff in there. People kind of put him in that conversation as well. But you're resetting the quarterback clock, and now you have 5 to 6 years to then build around him. He's on that rookie contract. I think about what the Eagles did with Jalen Hurts, right? So I know when it comes up to pay a guy, quarterbacks are going to be expensive. I mean, look at the contract Daniel Jones just got. Yeah, it's not crazy, but for him, because he's a quarterback, he got a huge contract. It's because of the position. But I think the way I look at it is that it is so incredibly hard to get those elite guys like Patrick Mahomes, like a Joe Burrow. But just because you get a guy who could be sufficient for you and your team could be successful for the next couple of years doesn't mean you're never going to get that elite guy. And I would rather, draft a guy like that at 11 than draft a guy, say, like an Anthony Richardson, where his options are so far between of he could be a Patrick Mahomes-esque quarterback or he could be one of the biggest busts ever and his floor is lower than anybody else and waste that.
I just think that that's kind of the case with this draft, this quarterback class in this draft. There's not you look at C.J. Stroud and you go, yeah, I think he's it and he's that guy. But then, as we'll get into, Charles Robinson was talking about the S2 scores and what matters there, and he hasn't scored well in that. And so, and you look at a guy like Brock Purdy, who was the best last year, and he was Mr. Irrelevant. Mm-hmm. And so how much does that actually mean? And then Bryce Young, Bryce Young was pretty elite at Alabama, but is he too small? Does the size matter? And then Anthony Richardson's all over the place. Yeah. Will Levis is all over the place.
Yeah, Will Levis scored really well on the S2 testing, like mid-90s.
And Richardson did too. I think.
Yes. Yeah. I think Richardson did, really well as well.
Yeah.
And then, C.J. Stroud didn't. So it's, as technology advances and as we see more guys be able to be similar to a Josh Allen, where in college maybe they had a lot of turnover issues, but they were this big-bodied guy who wasn't afraid of anything, had a huge arm. I mean, even Big Ben in college at Miami of Ohio, right? He was this big-bodied dude. He had turnover issues as well. But because we've seen instances like a Ben Roethlisberger, like a Josh Allen it's still early in Josh Allen's career, there is the idea now that, okay, more and more, even if they're not that successful in college, like an Anthony Richardson, like a Will Levis, if they have these, big-bodied guy, they're strong, they're 6'3", 6'4" guys, they have this huge arm, we believe that, and they have this S2 testing, which both of them do have, we believe that we can tame and evaluate and help them mold into what they want to be. I mean, Josh Allen still has turnover problems, but people view him as one of, the top in the league right now.
By the way, Ryan from Chicago disagrees with my Steve McNair comment. He says saying Steve McNair is a tier below Brady and Manning is one of the most insane things I've ever heard. You haven't heard me say some things that are even more insane. And so I said, well, what tier do you put him in? And he said the Hall of Very Good for a small period of time. We can debate that. That's fine.
I put Matt Ryan similar to Steve McNair. You were, for a small period of time, you had a great roster with the Falcons. You were the MVP. You took your team to a Super Bowl. You lost the Super Bowl. But other than that,
I think you have to look at there's underlying things with Steve McNair that I think people that were on the outside just didn't see. The fact that dude went 17 straight weeks as questionable and didn't practice at all during a season and played every game, that you got to give props to that. Like that's pretty damn impressive.
Yeah, no, and I get that, but I also
they don't build them like that anymore.
I also don't think that makes you under a tier of some of the best to ever do it.
I mean, we can debate that, but 615-737-1025, our question of basically, would you take the solid, good quarterback like a Tannehill or a Kirk Cousins at 11? If you knew that's what you were going to get at 11, would you sign up for that right now? You say yes. I say no. 615-737-1025, and we'll dive more into the S2 scores as well. Coming up next, Chase and Michelle, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
185! Every team needs a quarterback.
185!
That's why we have
Hasselbeck, bootleg, rollout, toss, touchdown!
Tim.
You can run good plays at the right time.
ESPN NFL analyst Tim Hasselbeck gives his expertise on all things NFL.
You evaluate players, and then you're turning them over to the coaching staff.
Every Tuesday at noon.
At the right time.
With Caroline, Willie, and D-Mace. Tim on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
All right, boys and girls, baseball is back, and the push for the postseason is on for hockey and hoops. Postseason underway for hoops. Make it all count this spring with Superbook Sports. Superbook is the best wagering app around with a direct line to experienced bookmakers behind the counter in Las Vegas. Plus, right now, get a $250 bonus when you sign up, deposit, and wager all in the same day. It is very simple. You go to your app store, you type in Superbook Sports, you download the app, and then you make your account, put in your deposit, and then get to betting. Whether you like singles, parlays like Rick Merritt, who hit one last night, or future bets, which is something that I've been looking at lately with baseball and pro football, college football, all those things. It's right there at the palm of your hand on the Superbook Sports app. Visit superbook.com for terms and conditions. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-889-9789.
This week at the Electronic Express Spring Clearance Event, get instant savings of up to 40% off in every department, including all 4K TVs, laptops and tablets, housewares, gaming consoles, speakers, and more. At Electronic Express, we have up to 50% off all your appliance needs in stock and ready to deliver. Plus, buy now, pay later with up to 3 years free financing. Shop the Spring Clearance Event at Electronic Express. We make it happen.
Genesis Diamond's spectacular spring store-wide sale is coming April 21st, 22nd, and 23rd. 3 incredible days of store-wide savings. Up to 35% off engagement rings, earrings, bracelets, wedding bands, plus special financing. Even Genesis GIA-certified diamonds are marked down. Lab-grown diamonds, too. Plus, top jewelry designers are flying in with all new amazing designs. You can't miss this annual event. Save up to $10,000 on some items. It's April 21st, 22nd, and 23rd only. And only at Genesis Diamonds and luxury pre-owned Rolexes. Green Hills and Cool Springs. See store for details.
Hey, it's Jared for Hiller. Sometimes replacing equipment in your home can be overlooked until something breaks, but there's actually big problems that can come from outdated old vintage HVAC systems. Older systems require more maintenance and results in higher utility bills. This month during Hiller's Vintage Showdown, they're giving away a free HVAC system to the owner of the oldest unit. It's easy to enter. Just go online to happyhiller.com and submit a picture of your old unit. Everybody wins with a trade-in credit and 0% interest financing for up to 48 months on replacement. That's Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. Call the Happy Face Truck today.
Bar Lines in the Omni Nashville Hotel.
Hey Nashville, Chef Phillip at Bar Lines at the Omni Hotel. Come try some of our new menu items like the Nashville Hot Fish and Chips, Nathan's Hot Dog Burn Ends, or the Nashville Chicken Jam Band. Go Preds.
Attending an event downtown? Dine at Bar Lines in the Omni Nashville Hotel.
We try to stay cool by being on social media.
I'm with it. I'm hip.
Follow us on Twitter at 1025thegame and on Instagram at 1025thegame Nashville.
Hey!
Oh yeah, and like us on Facebook too.
I got some good news.
Taking you through your mid-morning, this is Chase and Michelle on 1025 and 1063 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Chase and Michelle, 102.5, 106.3 The Game, broadcasting live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. We're talking draft. Well, Nashville's best draft coverage is right here on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. You can join us for the first 3 rounds, Thursday, April 27th, and Friday, April 28th. All of our draft coverage is presented by Parman Tractor and Equipment, D&M Development, Smoky Mountain Tops, Parman Energy, and B&B Flooring. Looking forward to that and everything coming up in the next few weeks. We are 2 weeks away from the National Football League's draft.
Bless.
Yes,
Bless.
indeed. So would you take that solid, good Tannehill, Kirk Cousins type if you knew that that was going to be your pick at 11? Or are you like me and kind of feel like, man, if I can't find, and I know it's hard to identify, but find that elite quarterback, would you just go and get another position of need? I'm going to be honest with you. I have no idea what the hell they're going to do. I don't even know if they know what they're going to do at this point.
Neither.
Because there's going to be a lot of posturing. We were just talking about during the break that because I said I think this draft is going to be drunk. I think there's going to be a move that happens early on where we're going to go, what in the bleep just happened? And you said, and I don't think you're far off with this, Houston could trade out of 2 and get even more draft capital because they got another pick at 12. So, if they're watching the quarterback movement, and I mean, who's to say that they even move past 12? They can move just a few spots back in the top 10 and still get the quarterback and then add even more. But Houston's kind of the wild card, I think, where everybody thinks, yeah, they're for sure going to take a quarterback. They're either going to get Stroud or Young, whichever one doesn't go. But I could see it. I could see them trying to move out of that number 2 spot.
Yeah, no, I agree, Chase. And kind of throughout this week, Junnie and I have been discussing on this show some of the reports that have been coming out. Mike Renner from Pro Football Focus discussed how C.J. Stroud has the same agent as Deshaun Watson, which I think if you're a franchise and you believe a guy is your guy, that shouldn't matter. But there's a factor in that. Adam Schefter has come out and said, I don't think we should be too sure that Houston is going to draft a quarterback at number 2. And Charles Robinson, who we have on every Thursday with Robby and Rexroad, senior NFL reporter at Yahoo Sports, said now 2 weeks ago that don't bet on Houston taking a quarterback at number 2. So, you compile all of these things, and I understand, sometimes it can be smoke and mirrors, but there's no real reason for it to be smoke and mirrors because they are the 2. But I guess it, it allows teams to then reach out and see what it would cost, right, to get a number 2 pick overall, and they have that 12th. They have 2 picks in the first round, which helps them with the 5 quarterbacks that are talked about in the first round. And so I think it's really, really interesting, and they could be in a position where, if you believe that Bryce Young is your guy and you're not going to reach for anybody else, and you want to collect some draft capital because other teams believe that a C.J. Stroud or an Anthony Richardson is their guy, then you collect that draft capital. You have a first-year head coach. You run it back with Davis Mills, try to fill some other positions on the field, and then you go and get your guy in 2024 with a stacked quarterback class that we've talked about a lot. So I don't think that that's too far-fetched to think that Houston could end up trading out of 2. We've also talked about Arizona. They're in a great position because they're at 3 and they already have Kyler Murray on his quarterback contract. He's still a young guy. They've made that clear. And, the C.J. Stroud thing is very, very interesting, Chase, because there's been more and more that has come out on this S2 testing. And actually, we had Colin from Franklin text in and just say, can you give a brief explanation as to what the S2 score is before you dive into it? I'm sure it's covered time to time, but I missed the explanation of it. So basically what this S2 testing is it was 2 neuroscientists from here, Vanderbilt, in our backyard. They were working on some Alzheimer's research, neuroscience, studying the brain, and they developed this test, this S2 testing it's called, which essentially
cognitive testing,
your reaction time, your ability to think on the fly, like this brain testing that allows an organization to see, okay, when you're put in a situation like this, can you react quick? Can you make a play? All of these different things. And, some of the players that we've heard have scored high, and these scores aren't released. So you only know what somebody scored on it is if you buy it. So in this division, it's the Colts and the Tennessee Titans have access to it. So they would know a score of somebody if they wanted to know. But these scores don't come out. There's chatter if somebody did good, but now there's been more chatter that, Bryce Young did really well. Anthony Richardson did really well. Will Levis scored up there in the 90s as well. To put it in perspective, past quarterbacks who've done really well on this, Joe Burrow got a 97 on it out of 100, so 97th percentile. Patrick Mahomes did really well on it. Josh Allen, Justin Fields has done really well on it. And as of recent, Brock Purdy did really well on it. So, it's this test that essentially gets you inside of their brain on reaction time, all of this different stuff, a cognitive test, and now with analytics playing a part in the NFL and decision making, it's become a big part of it. And, Charles Robinson said that he really does believe that it can hurt C.J. Stroud.
Yeah. I think that too. And you mentioned Charles Robinson. This was Charles this morning on Robby and Rexroad talking a little bit more about this S2 testing.
If Stroud's score is bad, does that actually have a chance to drop him?
Yeah. I think it depends. It depends how – are you an organization that only had one analytics employee last year? If you are, maybe that impacts how you – I don't know what I'm talking about. But
who would that be?
It depends what you think of the tool, okay? And so different organizations are going to view it differently. Just like, years ago, there were still teams that cared a lot about the Wonderlic, where there are other teams who are like, we could care less. Like, it's a total junk. It's absolute junk science with the Wonderlic. So, I think it just depends. What's your experience with it? And I know the 49ers did like that aspect about Purdy. I don't think they knew that it would be something that maybe showcased itself so quickly. But, I mean, if you went and watched Purdy's games last year, it was remarkable how quickly, like, you're like, wow, this guy's like running around. Kyle Shanahan said, he runs around and he just does stuff. I'm telling you, that's like an S2 trait. That's like, are you able to just run around and understand all these things that are happening in front of you and make the right play, even though Brock Purdy's not, a 6'4", cannon-armed, athletic combination quarterback, with size and everything. So, I mean, with Stroud, I think it could, depending on how the Panthers, feel about it, depending on how other teams potentially feel about it, that could impact his stats. I will say this about the scores, though. Man, I think they're under lock and key far more than the Wonderlic ever was.
Yeah, and that was Charles Robinson earlier today. If you miss him every week, every Thursday at 8 with Robby and Rex Road, you are missing out because he is the best for sure. But and he, kind of makes a little wisecrack at analytics and the Titans, and that they've only had they haven't really valued it maybe as much as they should have. But I feel like that's something Rand Carthon has brought to the table here, with his him joining the team. So I'm curious to see where this goes in years to come and how important it actually is, because I do think there's something to that of, that with what they have, how you go through this testing process, that you can learn a lot about a player, which I think can help you moving forward.
Yeah, no, Chase, I completely agree. Bradford from Nashville on the text line asked, do you guys know if Hooker scored well? I haven't heard anything in regards to his S2 testing, but like I said, and like Charles just said on that clip, if you are not an organization that pays for this S2 testing, you do not have access to the scores. A lot of times the players themselves, they don't even know how well they did on the test, or what they actually scored. Obviously, there'll be some rumblings of, he did well, but usually when somebody does bad, you don't really want that to get out, obviously. But it's very hard. They don't post these scores anywhere. Really, the only way you would see it, I guess, is if an agent somehow got it and leaked the score. But haven't heard anything on Hooker yet, but they're very, very lock and key.
Coming up next, we'll get more into the Titans in the 10 o'clock hour, but next, it is time for the Power Play. Greg Wyshynski, ESPN, joins us every Thursday at 9:45. The regular season coming to a close. The Predators will wrap up their season. We'll get his thoughts on all of that and more with Greg Wyshynski next here on Chase and Michelle, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
This is Colton Sissons, and this is Smashville.
Feeds now Sissons coming on from the left circle, and Colton Sissons puts it in the net.
This is the flagship of the Nashville Predators radio network. ESPN 102.5 The Game.
It's the first day of the first grade, and she found a new best friend. It's a laid-back Sunday afternoon you wish would never end.
The homemade taste of Bluebell and good friends gathered round. The good old days are being made right now.
Have you noticed that most ice creams now come in smaller cartons? Not Bluebell. We're still making a full half-gallon and a full pint of tasty goodness. Bluebell wouldn't have it any other way.
The good old days are being made right now.
The good old days are being made right now.
Look for Bluebell ice cream at select HD Hill supermarkets and Cash Savers.
The team at Mercedes-Benz of Music City have done it again. Here's Edwin Vickery to explain.
4-time recipient of Best of the Best. Less than 10% of the dealers in the country receive this award. How did you do it? We say culture eats strategy for lunch, because we can strategize all we want, but unless you have the right culture and chemistry in the dealership, it will not work.
Live the dream at Mercedes-Benz of Music City, mbofmc.com.
It's electric in Smashville. The International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers Local 429 has a new path to a dignified career. Local 429 is accepting applications for the highest skilled electricians and linemen and is providing the best training in Middle Tennessee. They are the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers Local 429. Call them at 615-889-4429 or go online to ibew429.org. IBEW Local 429, your proud seventh man since the beginning. Go Preds.
Hey, it's Jared. Are you looking to move? If so, do yourself a favor and reach out to my friends at TriStar Moving. You can be assured your move will be stress-free because they've got new utility vans to help with pack jobs to separate your high-value or fragile items from the bulk of your furniture, and their movers are carefully picked and highly trained. No one in the game is doing this. TriStar Moving is raising the standard in the moving industry. When you're ready to move, give them a call. TriStar Moving, 615-640-1219, or online at nationalmoving.org/radio and tell them Jared Stillman referred you for 10% off. That's TriStar Moving.
Hey, are you seeking relief? Maybe you just want to enhance your day or night. Did you know there are legal THC products available right here in Tennessee? Yeah, really. You can have legal THC products shipped directly to the comfort of your home. Yes, comfort in cannabis is only a website away. Visit greentreescompany.com. That's Green Trees with a Z, and change your life today.
Want to weigh in on the conversation? It's a brain booster. Slide into our DMs. Or just text or call at 615-737-1025. Our phone line is driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. You're listening to Chase and Michelle on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. It's time for the Daily Power Play.
And the score! A power play goal for the Predators.
Covering the Predators and the NHL.
With a shot that stopped by Saros.
Now on Chase and Michelle.
We do it every Thursday at 9:45. Greg Wyshynski of ESPN joins the show, gives us his thoughts on the National Hockey League and, of course, the Predators that we cover here in town. And, Greg, it's all coming to an end for the Predators. What a run it was. No, everybody saw it coming after the trade deadline and all the injuries that the young guys would get them to this point. But they're going to come up just a little bit short, miss the playoffs for the first time in 9 years. And what was crazy is these two that I work with, Michelle and Nick, were saying they were like freshmen in high school or something like that. Yep. The last time the Predators missed the playoffs, and I immediately told them to go away. But anyway, here we are. But what a run. And Barry Trotz, I think, is going to – now it's made his decision even tougher for what he wants to do to put his stamp on this team this offseason.
First of all, of course, I was only 9 years old the last time there was the playoffs.
Obviously, we wouldn't.
Obviously. Hey, this is at the end of the day, yeah, it does make Barry's job a little bit more challenging. But ultimately, I kind of see the Predators and the Buffalo Sabres as kind of a piece in this last month of the season, wherein it was two teams that not a lot of people gave hope that they would be in a playoff race this late in the season. Buffalo because they hit a massive losing streak, in Nashville, obviously, because of being a seller at the deadline. And at the end of the day, both teams really rode a collection of good young players to playing important, relevant games late in the year. And that's, you talk to any coach or any general manager, like sometimes that's going to be as beneficial down the road as actually making the playoffs. Like just playing important games, playing pressure-filled games, understanding what it takes to be in situations like this. I think ultimately, for a lot of the younger players, we're going to look back at this moment in a couple of years and say, okay, this was an important one for them to get a taste of this.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what I'm curious of, and I'd love your perspective as somebody that covers the entire league, we all know Barry Trotz, the coach, and what kind of a person he is. He's a great human being, obviously a Stanley Cup winning coach. Nobody knows Barry Trotz, the general manager. Not even Barry Trotz knows what that is going to be like. So I think that's the fun part, for all of us that cover the team, to kind of see him, grow into that role, listen to some advice from David Poyle, but he's worked for Lou Lamoriello and others around the league, and so kind of see how he builds this. But what do you think that process will be like for him to grow into that role and build this the way that he wants to do it and not necessarily the way that David has done it?
Yeah, I mean, I envision it kind of like he's a CEO, right? And he's going to surround himself with the best lieutenants that he could find, surround himself with people that have done this job before, but also hopefully surround himself with some people that are kind of forward-thinking to where the league is right now. My only concern with Barry as GM, besides the lack of experience and the X's and O's of what the job entails, is the fact that he's coaching this league for a very, very long time. He probably has an idea of what kind of player he wants and what kind of team he wants to build to be successful in this league. But this league has changed a lot, man, since he got into the business, right? I mean, this league has now become extraordinarily offensive. I think the at the end of the day, the goals per team per game is going to be the highest since 92, 93. So when you think about a Barry Trotz team and what those teams did to be successful, they are very, very different than what the teams today are doing to be successful. And I'm curious to see how he's kind of changed with the times, both within his mindset of what it takes to win in the league, but also in his mindset of what kind of player he wants on his roster.
Greg Wyshynski from ESPN joins us. Greg, this morning the Blackhawks put out a statement. GM Kyle Davidson said, I've had a number of conversations with Jonathan Toews throughout the season about his future with the Blackhawks, and recently we had a difficult conversation that we will not be re-signing him this offseason, so tonight will be his final game as a Blackhawk. Do you think this is him maybe moving into retirement? Do you think he tries to, run it back somewhere else? What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, those two things are obviously both on the table until he says otherwise. It's pretty clear both he and Patrick Kane didn't exactly have an appetite to see this rebuild through, knowing where they are in their careers and knowing what they've already accomplished. And I think that's their right, as it is the Blackhawks' right to say, hey, we're going in a different direction and we need kind of a clean break with the past. And they've been doing that gradually over the last couple of years. And Duncan Keith, obviously, Brent Seabrook, other players that were hallmarks of those championship teams have all moved on or retired. In Toews' case, the retirement aspect of it is obviously health-related. He's been pretty open with the struggles that he's had, in particular with long COVID. And you wonder whether or not, part of that conversation was him needing a little bit of time to evaluate exactly if he wants to play next season, and if so, where. Listen, the legacy of that team on the ice is remarkable. I mean, along with the Lightning, the closest thing to a dynasty maybe that we've had in the last 15 years. I mean, obviously off the ice, the Blackhawks have been maligned, and rightfully so, for the way they've handled certain situations. But what Kane and Toews were able to do with that franchise from a competitive standpoint is going to be something that a generation of fans is going to hold on to for a very long time.
And I can tell you, hockey fans will be very mad if they end up getting Bedard in the draft this year.
Well, fans around here.
Chicago fans will be very, very happy. Greg Wyshynski from ESPN on with us. Greg, the longest consecutive playoff appearances in the NHL. The Pittsburgh Penguins with 16, the Nashville Predators, and the Washington Capitals both at 8. All three of those broke in this year. The Pittsburgh Penguins just got eliminated last night, and then obviously the Preds and the Capitals have been eliminated. What do you make of that? I know you mentioned we've seen the NHL change as a whole, right? When Barry started coaching, and now it's so much more focused on the offense of the game. What do you make of all three of these organizations missing the playoffs this year?
Yeah, I mean, in the Preds case, there's obviously some other things at play, injuries and people just not having good seasons and looking at a different direction at the trade deadline. The Capitals and Penguins were kind of a piece in the sense that they were both trying to force their competitive window open. Boston was in the same boat. They managed to do it. The other two teams were unsuccessful in doing it. This is the first time since 2005, 2006 that neither Sidney Crosby nor Alex Ovechkin will be in the playoffs. And that was their rookie season. So, that's to show you what kind of run it's been for these two franchises. Both are going to get another kick at this, I think. The Penguins have upwards of $20 million in cap space in the offseason. They may have a new general manager. If you're to listen to the crowds chanting to fire Ron Hextall, there's going to be a lot of pressure for them to make a move at the top because the mix that they created around their core was not good this season. In the Capitals case, it's almost the same thing. They've got a lot of cap space this offseason. when Alex Ovechkin re-signed with them, there was sort of an agreement between him and their owner, Ted Leonsis, that they were going to keep the team competitive and a playoff team and not just build a team where Obi's scoring a bunch of goals and they're in the draft lottery every year. So I think both teams in their own ways are going to be very aggressive in trying to keep their window open. But again, like, you look at the changing in the guard in the Eastern Conference, the Devils made their leap this year. I think Buffalo is in position to make their leap. Detroit's building, Ottawa's building. It may just be a situation where these teams are going to end up in Chicago's boat, where the glory years are gone and you have to start making some really tough decisions with the big names on the roster.
So the season winding down, Greg, obviously most of the teams will end their season tonight, have a couple of games tomorrow, including Predators and Colorado. Now, Colorado still has a chance to win this Central Division. They need to win tonight. If Dallas wins tonight, then I think they have to win tomorrow. But they have a game in hand, so that could be interesting. And also Carolina and New Jersey, it's tight there at the top of the Metro Division. So there's definitely something to play for and to watch with the next two nights. I think it's going to be fun.
Yeah, not only that, you have the bottom of the East, too, where the Islanders and Panthers are both vying to not play Boston,
yeah.
which is a pretty advisable thing, I think, if you're one of those teams. Yeah, there's a lot of pieces that are still kind of in play right now. I've been really impressed with the way that Dallas has finished the season. I don't know if they're going to end up in the top spot in the Central, but they seem to be really closing the deal well and playing their best hockey at the right time. I've talked to a few people around the league that think that Dallas is a stealthy Stanley Cup contender. Because of their roster, because of their goaltending, and because they have so many offensive weapons. So they're one to watch. And then in the East, like you said, I mean, it could be a situation where the Devils not only create the biggest, I think, year-over-year increase in points in NHL history, but end up winning the Metro, which would deprive us of a first-round matchup between the Devils and Rangers, which obviously would be a lot of fun. But you know, it could end up really upending some things in the East as far as the seeding goes.
Yeah, Devils, Rangers, Leafs, Tampa Bay would be. I mean, that's going to be fun. And like, you know, those fan bases are like, really, this is what we have to do in the first round. But that's what it's going to be. I mean, you know, Edmonton, LA, and then whatever happens in the Central too with that. I mean, I think we're really in for a treat for these Stanley Cup playoffs.
It's going to be a lot of fun. I think the unpredictability in the West. I mean, Colorado's good, but they're not nearly as good as they were last year. Is going to make for some entertaining times. And in the East right now, it's kind of, I wrote about this today on ESPN.com. You can check out my column. It's you know, can the Bruins make it through that meat grinder? President's Trophy winners, traditionally and especially in the wild card era, have not made it through the meat grinder. So we'll see what happens with the Bruins after all this regular season success.
Yeah, for sure. Greg, appreciate it as always. We'll talk next week when the playoffs get going.
Anytime. Thanks for having me.
Greg Wyshynski, ESPN, joins us every Thursday at 9:45, and the Predators will take on the Minnesota Wild tonight. Pregame coverage with Max Hers at 6 o'clock, and then they'll wrap it up tomorrow against Colorado with pregame at 6, puck drop at 7 here on 102.5, 106.3, The Game. Coming up next, speaking of playoffs, one Tennessee team is in the playoffs. We'll discuss them next here on Chase and Michelle, 102.5, 106.3, The Game.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
How's Wingstop sound? Crispy, juicy classic wings, sauced and tossed in those 11 soul-satisfying flavors. Paired with hand-cut seasoned fries, house-made honey mustard, blue cheese, or signature Wingstop ranch. I think you've heard enough. Get your flavor delivered at Wingstop.com.
Discover credit cards automatically double all the cash back you earn at the end of your first year. Which means... Wait, hold up. Question for the audio engineer.
Go ahead.
Did I read that right? Discover automatically doubles all your cash back?
Yeah, that's what the script says.
So if I get a Discover card right now, I can earn twice the cash back.
Apparently. Wait! Unlimited first-year cash back match. Only from Discover. See terms and learn more at discover.com/match.
At 102.5 and 106.3 The Game, we recognize our veterans, active military, and first responders with the playing of our national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight. Oh, the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave? Oh, the land of the free and the home of the brave.
This is 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. Now, your Game Center update.
This is Nick Keyser. 2 more games to play in Nashville this season as the Predators are hosting the Minnesota Wild tonight. Nashville isn't part of the Stanley Cup playoffs, but defenseman Ryan McDonough knows what this team should play for through Friday.
I think if there's one thing we should hang our hat on is to put forth a good effort for him, because he's gave us every chance every night to win and try to make this push here to make the playoffs. So I think that's what our focus will be, is playing hard for our goalies. Both of them have been unbelievable.
And Jeffrey Simmons officially put ink to his new contract yesterday. Simmons' deal comes in at 4 years for $94 million, with $66 million guaranteed. And the Nashville Sounds are 2-0 so far against the Norfolk Tide after an 8-6 win last night. They'll be back in action on 94.9 The Fan starting at 6:35 p.m. on Throwback Night. You're listening to 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
For more, follow us on Twitter at 102.5 The Game or visit thegamenashville.com. Live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. WPRT FM Pegram, WPUZ HD2 Laverne. Nashville's exclusive home for the Nashville Predators. 102.5 and 106.3.
A gunny performance.
Do your job.
And the Tigers regain the lead.
The Game.
A Cromwell Media Station.
All the big topics.
That's what people want to know about.
Mixed with some entertainment.
So funny. It's not funny.
Give it a minute. This is Chase and Michelle with Chase McCabe and Michelle Knezovic.
We got a great show for you, and even if we don't, who cares?
Chase and Michelle on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Chase and Michelle, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Chase McCabe, Michelle Knezovic, the reporter. Nick Keyser with you on this Thursday. And you know what? Preds fans are sad, but also looking ahead to the future that they didn't make the playoffs. Nashville SC is just underway. We'll see what happens with them. They're in action on Saturday, but there is one team in Tennessee that everybody can get behind and support in the postseason, and I think it's going to be fun. And I'm going to be the first to tell you, you've heard me say this before, but I'm going to say this again. I'm not Mr. NBA. I am not a avid follower of the NBA. I haven't been since some guy named Jordan and Pippen played for the Bulls back in the 90s when I was a kid. Basketball, I like basketball. I don't love basketball. That's just kind of been my thing. I know. And so I'm very, like, I went to a Bulls game earlier this year. So fun. They were playing the Mavs and Luka didn't play, and I was like, load management, I was pissed about that, but
no, you're a Mavs fan, you got a chance to make playoffs, and you put Luka in for 13 minutes.
Yeah, man.
About to lose their first round pick.
But and speaking of the Bulls, that last night I was watching that game. That was a fun game. As they beat the Raptors 109-105 in the play-in game in the East. So, but I am all in on the Grizz. I'm gonna pull for the Grizz and see what they can do, and I think this is one of the best opportunities that they have ever had to do this and actually go on a run, and it will all start for them on Sunday, 2:00 against the Lakers.
Yes, I am. I'm so excited to watch this team. We saw what the Grizz were able to do with the Warriors last year, a tough-fought battle in that series. We've seen Ja Morant performing at such a high level. I know we have to wait until we get the first round because we got to wait until the play-in tournament is done. And no, I will never understand the play-in tournament, and it still will confuse me on how you lose, but then you play the other. It's very confusing for me. It's like a tournament to get in, and I can never follow it. But the Grizz will play the Lakers. Lakers beat the Timberwolves. And the Lakers really flipped the switch a couple weeks ago. It was, are the Lakers going to miss the playoffs? Is LeBron going to be healthy? What's going on with Anthony Davis? And they flipped a switch, and the addition of Jared Vanderbilt to this team has been so significant. I'm pretty sure he was in the package where Pat Beverly, it was like a three-way package. He went to the Chicago Bulls, but this is going to be such a tall task for Memphis. But a lot of people are counting Memphis out. I mean, Steven Adams, their big guy, he ended up getting injured. He's not going to be playing in the playoffs. But, you got John Morant. You have this young team. But then on the flip side, you have two of the faces of the NBA and the Lakers franchise playing you. A very, very storied franchise. You got LeBron James and Anthony Davis. And we got a texter who texts in and says, Lake Show is waxing the Grizz. 4-0 sweep. Grizz have Morant. But yes, but Lakers have the GOAT and AD.
No shot. They're not going to sweep the Grizz 4-0.
Listen, and the funny thing is, the Lakers, I understand. They have LeBron James. They have Anthony Davis, two of the best players in the NBA. Well, LeBron, however you want to rank them, whatever. But they just went head-to-head with the Timberwolves without Rudy Gobert. And
because the T-Wolves are all fighting each other.
It went into overtime, and they won by 3. I understand, the thought of, the Lakers are going to sweep them. The Grizz have been very, very consistent this year. They have a 7-game series. If this was like a March Madness setup and it was like a one and done, I would be a little, I don't know. It's going to be a close game. I could see the Lakers pulling away, just having LeBron in a moment like that. But a 7-game series? Listen, I feel confident in this Grizzlies team. And based off of their performance in last year's playoff, they've shown that they can compete with anyone. They went head-to-head with the Warriors team last year, and we're close to winning that series.
Yeah, I'm going to say Grizz in 6. I'd probably do that. Grizz in 6. I respect the hell out of LeBron James. Whether you like him or not, it's just like Jonathan Tays. Like, whether you like him or you don't like him, you got to respect him.
People just don't like him if he's not on your team.
Sure, and that LeBron did the heel turn. He's done it a couple times now. He did the heel turn when he left Cleveland and he went to Miami and did the whole decision thing, and everybody started to hate him then. And then he went back to Cleveland and the hero's back, wins a championship. Then he goes heel again when he goes to L.A. And so it's what it is, but you still got to respect the guy. I just think the Grizzlies are a better team.
Better, well-rounded team. I agree. And they've had more reps together as a team. I talked about how, LeBron and AD couldn't stay on the court and they're all over the place. And then they trade Pat Beverly. They haven't, as of recent, they've been able to get things rolling. We have an interesting text line on.
I got one on my personal text that I got to address in a second.
Let me read Gary's on our text line first. And text in, are you interested for the Grizz and the Lakers first round matchup, the NBA playoffs as a whole? 615-737-1025. So Gary texts in and says, a friend said on National Sports Talk Radio that has several minute segment about how the Lakers match up well with the Grizz. Defeated them in regular season, etc. And the guy sincerely asked, will people take the Lakers seriously if they reach the second round? I have a thought on that. So if the Grizz win the series, everyone will talk about how bad the Lakers were this season. If the Grizz lose the seasons, nobody will give it a second thought. Need to win 2 series to get positive attention for this small market team. I completely agree. That will be the storyline. The storyline will be, if the Lakers lose, it won't be, the Grizz, they're a team to watch out for. It'll be, there's got to be something going on with LeBron and AD, and they've had issues throughout the year when LeBron gets a scoring title and people are like, why isn't AD standing up? Is he not happy for him? AD's like, no, we're losing the game. That's why I'm not, cheering in the moment. And as far as, if the Grizz win, it's going to be, the Lakers weren't even that good this year, which is usually how it goes.
Sure.
But I genuinely do think this Grizz team, I think winning in 5 would be tough, but I think winning in 6 is a safe bet. Personal text line?
Our good friend of the show, Rick Merritt, says, better get on the Lake Show train, brother. Lakers in 6. AD is going to maul Jaren Jackson.
Listen, I love AD. I'm a Kentucky girl. Come on. I love Anthony Davis.
I saw him play his rookie year.
I just think that, when you look at the Lakers have been on a very, very consistent path right now. I just don't think that they're this huge dominant team. And I could be wrong. LeBron could go off. He could pull some LeBron stuff. But he is he 40? He's 40. Almost.
Oh, he's 40.
He's almost up there, right? He's late, back end of his career. Anthony Davis he's been good as of late, but either one of them get
38.
injured, which is not far-fetched because they've been in and out of the lineup all year because of injury. The Grizz are winning. So sorry, Ricky. Hate to break it to you. I'm not getting on the Lake Show bandwagon.
I'm not getting on the Lake Show bandwagon. And you know what? Let's stop this whole Lake Show. This is not the Lake Show. The Lake Show was in the 80s, okay? That's Showtime. Lake Show.
Did you watch the series on HBO?
No,
Showtime?
I do need to watch that.
Oh, it's so good. It's so good.
But you know what? It just hit me when I was talking about LeBron James and using the wrestling term heel or babyface. When he's number 6, he's the heel. When he's 23, he's the face.
Okay.
Okay. That's what's kind of because Miami was 6, and now he's 6 with the Lakers and all that. And I guess he was 23, for a year or two with the Lakers. But
he's all over the place. That's just why the NBA is so different now, right? I mean, you talk about the Lake Show. It's like Kobe played there his whole career, right? You talk about Magic there. They are Lakers, but I don't classify LeBron as a Laker.
No,
right now he is.
What do you classify Shaq as?
A Laker, and yes, I know he was with the Magic and he was with the Heat.
I mean, he won a championship with the Heat.
Yeah.
I see. Shaq is one of those guys that, and I put LeBron in this too. There are different eras. There's the OG Cleveland era with LeBron, just like. There's the early days of the Magic, which that was short-lived.
Uh-huh.
And then he goes to the Lakers, and so there's Shaq and Kobe. But then there's Shaq and D-Wade. So
and then there's D-Wade and LeBron.
And there's D-Wade and LeBron and Bosh. So they're big three.
Yeah. No, it's definitely different. Really quick before we go to break here, we got a texter that texts in and says the Grizzlies will win as long as they stay disciplined and focused all series. The Grizzlies have a bad habit of letting teams back in games late after leading by double digits. That's key against LeBron. That's a killer with all-stars like Ja, Triple J, and other big role players like Desmond Bane and Dylan Brooks. The Grizzlies should win in 6. Well, just Dylan Brooks, just make sure. Just stay focused on the task at hand. None of this trash talking. Get a little distracted. Focused.
Indeed. Stay focused. So 2 o'clock, we'll have a little more info on that Grizzlies and Lakers game coming up tomorrow. Some things that we are working on for sure, and we'll continue that discussion. But we'll get back into the Titans up next because I have I heard this the other day from Tim Hasselbeck, and I think he's right. That we're maybe putting a little too much into the draft. We'll discuss that coming up here on Chase and Michelle, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
When it comes to Nashville sports,
locking up Jeffrey Simmons, clearly that was a priority for them.
He knows his stuff.
A little bit good, a little bit bad.
And knows how to push the right buttons.
He's coming off an ACL tear, and he's 25 years old, so you cannot ignore that.
Join Outkick's Chad Withrow every Friday at 5 with Stillman and Company. Withrow.
What I hate more than anything is people that are phony and not true to themselves.
Is on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Sounds Baseball is back. Catch the action at First Horizon Park tonight at 6:35 as the Nashville Sounds take on the Baltimore Orioles affiliate. Throwback Thursday returns presented by Budweiser as the Sounds wear their classic 1978 throwback uniforms. For tickets, visit NashvilleSounds.com.
Professional quilt maker Dana Balliard once said, "There are no rules in quilting, and if you think that there are, then it's time you try breaking a few." Now, I like that type of creative entrepreneurial spirit, and that's why I do my adult beverage trading at Red Spirits and Wine. It's not just a great selection of distilled spirits, single-barrel Red Select whiskeys, great wines from around the world, and awesome craft beers, but it's more the way the folks at Red just go about their business. At Red, they keep it interesting and fun. The Cracker Jack crew makes you feel welcome after a hard day on the trail. Never coming off like some of them snooty-nosed, big-talking whoop-de-doos. At Red, it's always square dealing with the best in service, selection, and prices. Plus, Red is locally owned by real folks, not some totally faceless corporation. There's no doubt in my mind, Red is my kind of place. Red Spirits and Wine, Highway 70 South and Old Hickory Boulevard. Check them out on Facebook, Instagram, and at redspirits.com.
Houston Clinic Orthopedics wants to thank their patients for voting them the #1 orthopedic practice in the Nashville Scene Poll for 3 years in a row. Their physicians specialize in spine, joint replacement, knee, hip, upper extremity, and other orthopedic conditions. At Houston Clinic Orthopedics, they adhere to all CDC guidelines for the patient's and staff safety. To experience world-class orthopedic care and see a list of all physicians, visit their website at tn.houston.com and book your appointment online today.
Bar Lines in the Omni Nashville Hotel.
Hey Nashville, it's Chef Philip at Bar Lines at the Omni Hotel. Come try our new Nashville hot fish and chips. Beer battered black cod served over crispy fries or tots with Omni's own Nashville hot season blend. Served with chipotle slaw and malt vinegar tartar sauce.
Attending an event downtown? Dine at Bar Lines in the Omni Nashville Hotel.
This is Jim Mitchell at Mr. Transmission in Madison. Many of you care about a cure for cystic fibrosis. I care a lot and support the Saturday, May 6th golf tournament at Hendersonville's beautiful Country Hill Golf Course. It's the CureForOurFriends.org 9th annual golf tournament for cystic fibrosis. Tee off at 7:30 a.m. and 1 p.m. on May the 6th. Lots of prizes and sports stars, lunch and dinner provided for each tee time. Sign up at CureForOurFriends.org. That's CureForOurFriends.org.
102.5 and 106.3, The Game is live and local.
And now, let's meet the starting lineups.
Robbie and Rex Road 6 to 9.
You are talking about a team that's building a roster.
Chase and Michelle 9 to 11.
He's still under contract.
It's not always X's and O's.
Caroline, Willie, and D Mace 11 to 2.
Trades, free agents.
Let's get it going. I think this is a good hire.
And Stillman and Company 2 to 6.
I can give you one of the best coaches in the league.
And don't forget, we're your home for all things Nashville.
He scored!
Nashville's best sports talk. 102.5 and 106.3, The Game. Taking you through your mid-morning.
Love it.
Yeah, that's fantastic. This is Chase and Michelle.
Where'd you find those crazy characters?
On 102.5 and 106.3, The Game and The Game Nashville
Tim
app.
Hasbeck is with us. You say you wouldn't trade up to number 3 to get Anthony Richardson. Is there a quarterback or a player in this year's draft, doesn't have to be a quarterback, that you would trade up in order to get?
Honestly, I think that, and maybe I'm kind of the I don't know. Maybe I'm the wrong guy to ask for that. You know, when I see, guys like Mike Tannenbaum at ESPN say, look, I mean, he was talking about, hey, go ahead and trade Justin Fields and load up on picks and totally restart if you're Chicago. I just have seen so many players that were supposed to be good get drafted early, and then you get there and you're like, really? Now, look, that's not to say that you don't get it right sometimes in the draft, because most certainly you do. I mean, look, Jeffrey Simmons was just rewarded because, look, they drafted him. He had a torn ACL. There was risk there, but he turned out to be incredible. But, look, Caleb Farley, kind of a similar approach, not so much. For me, I wouldn't go crazy. I think people overvalue the draft. Can you add great players? Sure. But then you can also add somebody that you think is going to be as good, if not maybe better, and he's just not.
That was Tim Hasselback on Tuesday with Caroline, Willie, and D-Mace back here on Chase and Michelle. Chase McCabe and Michelle Knezovic with you. Tim Hasselback joins Caroline, Willie, and D-Mace every Tuesday at noon. Can't miss programming. And I heard that when I was listening, and I go, you know what? I think he's right. And Tim knows a lot. Mm-hmm. I was thinking about this. There are 2 regulars on this radio station that have pretty much been here since the beginning of this radio station, Trevor Madish and Tim Hasselback, mm-hmm. and there are reasons why, because their info is so good. And Tim, I think he's right, and I think right now Titans fans in particular, and I've been guilty of it, are looking at this draft going, okay, all the problems going to be solved. Yeah, they're going to reset.
If only.
And 1, they only have 6 picks. And 2, you just don't know. And, I mean, that goes for any sport, but you just don't truly know if a player is going to hit or not when it comes to the draft. And so maybe sometimes we put a little too much stock into the draft just fixing everything.
Yeah, 100%, Chase. I mean, I know it's easy for fans in this area to look specifically at the Tennessee Titans and think of the first-round picks that they have missed on, right? I mean, mentioned Caleb Farley in the clip. We can talk about Dylan Radins, Isaiah Wilson, right? All of these. I mean, you could even throw Marcus Mariota in there. Yeah, he did some good things for a while, but he wasn't your franchise-altering quarterback, right? I mean, and if you take a look at every other organization around the league, you can say, they never miss. But, I mean, if you talk to their fan base and if you talk to people who cover their team, everybody misses on top draft picks because so often you look at guys and you evaluate guys, and specifically speaking about the quarterback position, I mean, if one of these quarterbacks out of the 5 we're talking about right now becomes elite, like elite Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, I will be very, very surprised. I know some people believe Bryce Young will be, but there's no sure guy, 100%. There's no question marks on him. He is definitely going to translate into the NFL. And there's been guys like that in the past where it hasn't worked out. And that's just the quarterback position we're talking about. So, when you talk about, draft this year, it's okay. We're going to just fix the entire roster plus free agency. Like, we're going to be all good. We're going to be all good. And then you're going to make it fit under the salary cap. That's why, it's hard, very, very hard to win a Super Bowl and to go far in the postseason because constructing a team and drafting players and developing players is so crucial, and it's why we love it so much. But no, I completely agree with him. Sometimes there's an emphasis on the NFL draft that, okay, we're gonna get 2 wide receivers, we're gonna get an offensive lineman, and they're gonna be with this organization for the next 10 years. They're gonna be elite wide receivers, they're gonna be elite offensive linemen, and then we're also gonna find our quarterback. I mean, the likelihood of one of those happening is still a bet.
Sure.
You're still betting on it.
Right. And that, I mean, that is the gamble, and, to use all the analogies that GMs and coaches go through with the draft. And so, now with all that said, and whether it's fair or it's unfair, Rand Carthon needs to hit on this draft. And that is because, John Robinson missed on a couple of first-round picks. Isaiah Wilson's the big one. It's looking like Caleb Farley is not going to be a hit at this point. Dylan Radins, is another one. And so, and not every GM is going to hit on every pick. Everybody knows that. But when you're missing on first and second round guys, that's a tough one. And so the pressure is on for Rand Carthon and Mike Vrabel to hit on these picks in this draft. And, they've been lucky. They've found some guys in the late rounds of the draft. Need to obviously continue that, but that's why I think this draft is important, and you can put stock in that. But just saying that it's going to fix all your problems, that's where I think the conversation can stop.
Completely agree. I need to read a tweet
I saw your face.
From Albert Breer here regarding the draft, regarding these quarterback in this draft. We talked about the S2 testing earlier, and I said that, numbers aren't usually posted. And Joe Burrow got a 97, which was incredibly high. Albert Breer, since I've been asked, Alabama quarterback Bryce Young scored a 98 on the S2 cognitive test, per source. That's a huge number. And one of his teammates, tight end Cameron, matched that score. I mentioned Burrow, Fields, and Allen all in the 90s as high scorers. Young's score edged out all of them. Wow. I mean, near a perfect score. And the 2 neuroscientists from Vanderbilt who created this S2 testing, they said that 80 is considered elite. Scoring in the 80s, right? The 80th percentile, a 98. Wow. I mean, I thought 95, 96. I thought Burrow's 97. Wow. But the fact that 98.
Right. That.
Yeah.
I keep hitting the wrong buttons. Pull it a Rex.
Woo!
But yeah, that is very, very impressive. I just, again, I go back to the whole I think this draft is going to be drunk, which is going to be exciting. And, we'll have our draft covered. I mean, I remember last year, for the Titans, obviously, that first round, we were all sitting there, watching everything.
I was sitting next to you.
You were standing next to me, and I think I had my phone in my hand. If you're watching on the stream, I'm reenacting it, and I was like,
Robby texts us.
Wait, what? And then I look at Jared, and Jared kind of turns and looks at me, and I'm like getting his attention, and he's on the air, and I'm like, pull the headset off, and he goes, what? And I go, they just traded AJ, and he goes, they did what?
I was like, I didn't know what to do with my hands. You were standing there, Junnie was standing there, Robby texts Joe and I, and I'm like, no, that didn't happen.
Well, what was funny is, sorry to cut you off, what was funny is when Robby texted us that, I'm like, in my head, I'm like, okay, Robbie's not going to send something that's wrong. But I'm like, I have to look this up for myself to make sure this is true because I just don't believe it. Like, I don't want to believe it.
Yeah, that was definitely a big blockbuster. I would love to know, other fan bases too. Like, what is the most blockbuster moment when you're watching a trade? And I have a feeling that this is going to be one of those years, Chase, because of the quarterbacks, how polarizing they are. Some of the teams in the top who don't need a quarterback are deciding to pass. Oh, it's going to be so fascinating. 2 weeks away.
Yeah, and I can't decide what's going to make me happy and disappointed with whatever the Titans do. Like, I'm going to – if they draft Jackson Smith and Jigba at 11, I'm going to go, okay, that's a little early. But I still like the pick. Like, I don't hate the pick. It's just a little – it's like Corey Davis. Like, when they took Corey Davis at 5th overall – I wasn't blown away by that, and he wasn't the 5th overall pick. But that was a weird draft. That's just kind of where that draft was. So, but then I'm like, what if they take Hendon Hooker? I still think that's going to be too early for him, but I'm still going to go, okay, I'm intrigued.
That's the thing. I mean, we for so long have talked about the need of depth on the offensive line and the wide receiver room. So if they were to be like, and Paris Johnson Jr., it's like, oh, well, I really like that pick, but quarterback would have been so much more exciting. It's just for our jobs and being a little selfish. But honestly, even in training camp, to be following a young quarterback, especially since all 5 of these guys have been all over the place on the draft board. So we want a quarterback because it would be way more entertaining, but I guess I'd be okay.
I mean, if the Titans draft a quarterback, then that's content. That's you can get a lot of content out of that. But, I mean, if they do something stupid, that's content too. So who knows? We'll talk more about the Titans and what to expect, and also Jeffrey Simmons re-signing with them with the two-tone with Jill Jelnick, Fox 17 sports director, coming up next on Chase and Michelle, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
The college football season never stops. ESPN college football analyst Trevor Manich joins Stillman and Company every Tuesday at 4:30.
They've got to do what Nick Saban in Alabama has done so successfully over the last 10 years.
Presented by Houston Clinic Orthopedics on Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Family Leisure invites you to vacation at home with a new spa, pool, patio furniture, or wood play gym this summer.
I really want a spa.
40 spas on display from Artesian, Best Spas, and American Select.
Prices starting as low as $29.99.
Family Leisure has over 100 sets of patio furniture with free delivery.
That sounds good to me, too.
We should really look at the wood play gyms for the kids. Family Leisure has the Diamond Point swing set on sale at only $24.99 installed. Family Leisure's vacation at home sale in Franklin and Antioch.
Looking for a career with purpose or have that passion for youth development? Boys and Girls Clubs of Middle Tennessee provides a safe place where youth gain the tools to learn, lead, and reach their full potential. And that starts with you, offering competitive pay and free after-school care for employees. Learn more at bgcmt.org.
Genesis Diamond's most anticipated event of the year is coming next weekend, April 21st, 22nd, and 23rd. Huge store-wide savings, plus the unveiling of thousands of new, unique designs from the biggest names in jewelry. All new collections from names like Tacori, Verragio, and more. Rings, earrings, pendants, bands, many never seen before, all specially priced. Save up to 35% store-wide and get zero interest financing. Special pricing on natural and lab-grown diamonds, April 21st through the 23rd. Only at Genesis Diamonds and luxury pre-owned Rolexes, Green Hills, and Cool Springs. See store for details.
Nashville's best deal of the week is Joyland in East Nashville. Joyland is a fun new concept by celebrity chef Sean Brock, inspired by his love for cheeseburgers, shakes, buttermilk biscuits, fries, and fried chicken. Get half off a $30 gift card at thegamenashville.com/deals and enjoy the best burger in town. Find some joy today and eat Joyland for half off with Nashville's best deal of the week. That's thegamenashville.com/deals.
Men, this is Evan Bass with the Tennessee Men's Clinic, and I've been helping men with sexual health issues for many years. I've seen the pain and anxiety that men walk into the clinic with when erectile dysfunction is affecting them. And I also know the heartache and difficulty it can bring to their partner. At the Tennessee Men's Clinic, we've been successfully treating men for ED for many years now. We've seen the amazing impacts that those treatments have on a man's confidence and positivity. And we've seen the wonderful things those treatments also do for a man's relationship. That's why I'm pleased to announce that we are now offering the same great services we offer at our Nashville clinic at our new location in Franklin, which will make it much more convenient for those men living south of Nashville to get treated. So call us today and book your appointment at our Midtown location or at our new clinic in Cool Springs. Your first visit is only $99 and includes blood work and a medical consult. Call 615-208-9090. That's 615-208-9090 or go to TennesseeMen'sClinic.com.
Visit our website to learn more, including side effects. Treatment sex start results vary.
Want to see our smiling faces? You can watch us on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook Live.
We are good to go.
Presented by Superbook Sports, voted #1 sportsbook in Vegas.
I got some good news.
Taking you through your mid-morning, this is Chase and Michelle on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Chase and Michelle, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. She's Michelle Knezovic. I'm Chase McCabe, the reporter Nick Keyser on the ones and twos, and we say hello to Jill Jelnick, sports director, Fox 17, who joins us now. Jillian, good morning. How are you?
Hey, Jill.
What's up? What's up, guys? Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. You were at the Jeffrey Simmons press conference yesterday, and we started the show talking about him re-signing with the Titans, and I remember his press conference when they drafted him and then the one yesterday, and it's kind of the same thing. You see the emotion out of him. He's just a guy that you can tell that he loves it. He appreciates it. He just is so grateful and thankful to be a part of this organization in the National Football League, and that's the kind of guy that I think Rand Carthon and Mike Vrabel can build this team around. How much fun was it to be able to witness that yesterday?
It was really cool. I'll be honest with you. I went into that presser not thinking that I was going to tear up at some point during it, but he even brought me to tears at one point when he was reflecting back on his journey. And I think it was such a powerful moment hearing not just Jeffrey Simmons, right, but here's this big guy, like huge, right, tough, Tennessee tough, known for his grittiness and attacking quarterbacks, just rough around the edges. And this powerful moment where he just was so vulnerable and genuine and raw. And we just don't see that from professional athletes when they're with the media all that often. You know, obviously he got a huge payday and rightfully so. So he's excited. He's emotional. His family was there. I get it. But I think all too often we see kind of athletes, no matter what sport, right, and male or female, kind of sometimes put up a guard when it comes to the media, whether it's just, because they want to be careful what they say when they're questioning, if it's coming off a loss, a tough situation, blah, blah, blah. Here it was a positive situation, a positive press conference, which we don't always have very often, right, for not just the Titans, but throughout sports. We don't always have positive press conferences for good news. And he was able to show us a side of him that I really hadn't seen before. I've always been a big fan of Big Jeff for selfish reasons. One, he's great he leaves his heart. He wears his heart on his sleeve and he leaves it all on the field, right? But I've always appreciated him for selfish reasons. He gives me great sound bites. He's willing to talk to us after the game, and he's straight up with you after the game. He's not going to cookie cut it, give you a cookie cutter answer. He's going to be real with you. And the Titans lost. he was upset and frustrated, and he tried to answer questions the best of his ability, and I always respected him so much for that. And I think that also comes with being a leader on this team and one of the biggest leaders on that defense, along with Kevin Byard. So I was very, very impressed with not only how poised he was and just his raw, genuine emotion, but I really, really thought it was one of those moments where, okay, this is something that could a moment like this, a presser like this, a contract like this can really catapult this player even further, take that next step. So I'm just really excited for Big Jeff, excited for the Titans, excited for Rand Carthon getting his first big signing, contract extension. It was a really good day for the Two-Tone Blue.
Well, and you mentioned Rand Carthon. Jill Jelnick is with us from Fox 17. He said when he took this job, that one of his first priorities was going to be to re-sign Jeffrey Simmons. And I think we all thought that, yeah, they're going to do that. They have to do that. There's no choice. And Jeff has handled this, for the most part in the right way. But for him to actually be true to his word and get it done, what kind of message does that send to the fan base and to the rest of the organization that, hey, when this guy says he's going to do something, he does it?
He's a man of his word. He's a man of his word. And I think Rand Carthon, on top of, he still has so many opportunities to prove, the type of general manager he's going to be with this team. But Rand Carthon had an opportunity right from the get-go, from the moment he walked in that office, to prove that he is a man of his word, and that when he tells a player he's going to do everything that he can to hold him, and that he wants him there in Tennessee, he stuck to it. That's huge. So if I'm the other players on the team, if I'm the younger players, if I'm Traylon Burks, if I'm somebody coming off of my rookie year, if I'm someone that has no clue what Rand Carthon did with the 49ers, right, I'm looking at what Carthon did with Big Jeff, how much he respected him, and then also how about the fact that he didn't just pay Big Jeff. Big Jeff is now the second highest paid defensive tackle in the league behind Aaron Donald. Like, that is a statement. That's a statement. And so if I'm one of the players on the team, or if I'm a free agent looking at what Carthon's doing with the Titans, I see that and I say, okay, this guy's, not only does this guy mean business, but it looks as if he's putting his athletes first. He's doing whatever he can. And most importantly, he kept his word when he said that he wanted to make Big Jeff a top priority.
Jill Jelnick from Fox 17 joins us right now. Jill, sticking with the Tennessee Titans, obviously the Jeffrey Simmons deal was a huge storyline this offseason. Another one being, will they draft a quarterback with their first overall pick? With their first round pick, or will they trade? Yeah, right. I'm like, oh, they got the overall. Yeah, first overall. Of course, they're taking a quarterback. With their 11th pick, will they trade up with Arizona? When you take a look at some of the offseason storylines, what would you say is the most intriguing from your perspective?
Yeah, Michelle, you hit it right on the nose. It's got to be their move with a quarterback. And to me, the storyline is not so much, are they going to draft a quarterback in the draft? It's, what are their intentions with Ryan Tannehill? What are they doing with Ryan Tannehill? Yes, he's under contract for this next year, right? But he brings a big cap hit. And here's the thing. I kind of thought that if they were going to either move on from Tannehill or get a quarterback in free agency. Remember that free agent frenzy for quarterbacks when the Super Bowl was over? It seemed like there were so many between Derek Carr and Lamar Jackson, all these guys, right? I felt like that was the move. That was the opportunity. If the Titans wanted to go get a free agent quarterback, that would have been it. The fact that, one, they didn't do that, and two, we really haven't heard all that much about trade rumors with Tannehill or anything else regarding Tannehill tells me that it sounds like they are okay with what they have right now. I also think, circling back to your question about the draft and moving up to get a quarterback, you got to give a lot to get a lot. And selling the farm to move up and potentially, let's say, just hypothetically, get that number 3 pick from the Cardinals, right? You got to give them a lot. And I don't know if someone other than the top 2 quarterbacks in the draft are going to be worth that. I just don't know if that's that's going to be an go-to move, right? If they move up, if the Titans, if anybody's NFL team moves up in the draft and gives away a next year's first rounder or second rounder or a bunch of other picks, they got to absolutely be 100% sure that this quarterback is the quarterback of the future. And I don't get that feeling with all the rest of the quarterbacks behind Bryce Young and C.J. Stroud. Do you? I just don't know. I'm not buying it yet.
Yeah, definitely would be projects, not a sure thing. Jill Jelnick from Fox 17 with us. Jill, something that I think is really interesting. We're in a period right now where Derrick Henry has been the face of this franchise. And this upcoming season, with all the changes they're making, if they decide to draft a young quarterback, this could be his last season wearing the two-tone blue. I look at what he's done in his career here, over 8,000 rushing yards. He only needs 1,665 this year to break 10,000 rushing yards in his career, which I think would round out a Hall of Fame resume for him. And to put that in perspective, he had 1,500 last year with one of the worst offensive lines in football. So, what has it been like for you covering Derrick Henry when you look at, he could break 10,000 rushing yards this year? Do you think that would secure him as a first ballot Hall of Famer?
Absolutely. 10,000. Absolutely. I think Derrick Henry is really in a class of his own. But Michelle Chase, when I'm looking at Derrick Henry and what he's able to do, his numbers are staggering. But I think what hurts or what stings is this was his prime. And I say was because I felt like the last couple years we saw a brand and an athlete in Derrick Henry that's once in a generation, right? Once in a decade. He is in a league of his own. I don't care what you say about him and some of the other, comparing him to some of the other running backs. 2 seasons ago when he hurt himself, if Derrick Henry was healthy, he would have been a rushing king for the third straight year.
Yep.
There's no question in my mind. So he is in a league of his own, and I hope that we're still in his window. We, as the Titans, I hope the Titans are still in his prime window, at least this season. I would love another season, right, of Derrick Henry, prime Derrick Henry. But the truth is that running back position, it's unfortunately such a tough position because the lifespan, the life expectancy, the NFL years in a running back, they go down significantly because of the wear and tear on that body and just how much that running back has to grind on a daily basis. That's why they're not paid as much as they should be. And that's Saquon Barkley's going through something of his own because of that with the New York Giants over there. So I think I would love another milestone for King Henry. I would love for him to show us this year that he has not lost a step at all. But we also have to think of the offense as in a big picture. And right now, is it the best thing to give Derrick Henry the ball every handoff? Right? I think we saw that a little bit last year, and it didn't work. Right? Defense is keyed in on Derrick Henry right after the Titans snapped their winning streak, and it just seemed so much harder the back end of the season for him to run the ball. The offensive line, you brought that up, Michelle. That's a good point, but I would love for him to have another fantastic year. Is it realistic for him to have his best year? Statistics and history of running back health tells us no. But you get a better offensive line, man, and then now we're talking. So we'll have to see.
To put this in perspective, because I just looked this up when you asked that question, Michelle. So right now, Derrick is at 102 games played, 1,750 rushing attempts at 8,335 yards, 78 touchdowns. That's where he's at in his career. Eddie George, 141 games played, 2,865 rushing attempts, and he was at 10,441, 68 touchdowns. So if Derrick gets to that point, he's going to do it in less games with less rushing attempts, which I think adds to the Hall of Fame resume, even though I think Eddie should probably get in
Eddie,
eventually.
40 more games, and Derrick's almost there.
Yeah, so pretty interesting. Jill, appreciate it as always. I know we're going to be chatting with you before the season gets here with the draft. We're 2 weeks away from the draft, but always appreciate it and love having you on.
Yes, and
yes, right back at you guys. Have a good Thursday. Appreciate you.
Yes,
Take care.
thanks, Jill.
See you, Jill. Jill Jelnick, Fox 17 sports director, joining us. You can see her every night on Fox and also Sports Overtime Sundays at 10 on Fox 17. Coming up next, we will put a bow on things and look at the Predators tonight as they are back in action against the Minnesota Wild and some other things that you may have missed here on Chase and Michelle, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Rand Carthon's crossed off a very big item off the to-do list.
Oh, Simmons, hello.
With the signing of Jeffrey Simmons
To a 4-year contract extension. I think it's a big deal.
I'm not surprised that it got done.
Jeffrey Simmons loves being a Titan.
With the draft just a few weeks away, what's next?
Talking Titans?
Keep it locked to Nashville's best Titans talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
All right, baseball is back and the push for the postseason is on for hockey and hoops. So guess what? Make it all count this spring with Superbook Sports. Superbook Sports is the best wagering app around with a direct line to experienced bookmakers right there behind the counter in Las Vegas. Plus, right now, get a $250 bonus when you sign up, deposit, and wager all in the same day. And it's such an easy process. Go to your app store, download the Superbook Sports app, create your account, deposit your money, and make your bets and get that bonus. It's that easy. You can do singles. You can do parlays. They have futures up. Whether it's the draft you're looking at, pro football, college football, what have you, they have it for every sport. It is right there at the palm of your hand on your phone with the Superbook Sports app. So don't let spring pass you by without winning money with Superbook Sports. Visit superbook.com for terms and conditions. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-889-9789.
Hey, Robby, Stanley here, and season tickets for the Preds 2023-24 season are on sale now. Preds will be celebrating their 25th anniversary throughout next season. Full half and quarter season plans are available, and you can join the Loyal Legion today and receive the best seat locations at the best pricing and up to 50% off discounts on concessions throughout the season and more, plus priority access to the 2023 NHL Draft and awards, which are hosted right here in Nashville coming up this summer. Check it out at NashvillePredators.com/season tickets.
It's Quaz with Little Harvest, and I'm just having one of our Chicken Scratch American Pilsners. It's one refreshing beer and a good example of the German lagers that we craft right here in Nashville. Chicken Scratch is made with locally sourced raw white corn, giving it a subtle cornbready sweetness. And speaking of sweetness, Chicken Scratch's closest associate goes by the name of Deer Crossing Hellas, also a lager with a light, crisp body and golden color, and it won us a gold medal at the Great American Beer Festival. So be on the lookout for our craft lagers. And as always, thank you for supporting our little brewery.
Cards issued by Sutton Bank and Celtic Bank, members FDIC. Terms and conditions apply.
What if you could do business without busy work? With Ramp, you can. Ramp is the future of finance with smart automation, corporate cards, and spend management. Just imagine, no more expense reports or shuffling wrinkled receipts. No more slogging through invoices or getting surprised by unexpected charges. Just your business's big idea. With smart spend controls, automation that crushes busy work, and real-time insights so you can make it happen. In other words, Ramp completely reimagined finance to make it work for your business. Get set up, issue corporate cards, and start making payments in less than 15 minutes. See how Ramp does finance. Join today and get $250 just for signing up. Just go to ramp.com/offer. That's ramp.com/offer to get $250 for signing up. That's ramp.com/offer.
At Fisher Investments, our clients know we have their backs.
How do your clients know that?
Because Fisher Investments is a fiduciary, the highest standard for a financial advisor. It means we're there for our clients and always put their interests first.
So wait, you do it because you have to?
No, we do it because it's the right thing to do. Our clients trust us with their retirement savings, and we know how important that responsibility is. So we take the time to really get to know them.
Get to know them how?
We make sure we understand their unique goals, finances, health, family, and lifestyle so we can tailor their portfolio to their specific needs. Our goal is to help them achieve a comfortable retirement.
Sounds like a big responsibility. You must make big commissions then, right?
No, we don't sell commission-based products. We have one single transparent fee that's structured so we do better when our clients do better. Visit FisherInvestments.com to find out why investors like you are switching to us. Fisher Investments. Clearly different money management.
Investing in securities involves the risk of loss.
Anyone want to tell me what happened? Did you miss any of today's show?
It's okay. It's fine. Don't worry.
Subscribe to the Chase and Michelle podcast on Apple, Spotify, and other podcast platforms, or by going to thegamenashville.com.
All right, I'll give it a shot.
You're listening to Chase and Michelle on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Chase and Michelle, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Tune in for Nashville Sounds Baseball tonight at 6:35 on 94.9 The Fan. The Sounds will take on the Norfolk Tides, AAA affiliate of the Baltimore Orioles. Sounds Baseball on 94.9 The Fan, presented by 312 Pizza, Farm Bureau Health Plans, and Family Leisure. Chase McCabe, Michelle Knezvik, Nick Keyser with you. Caroline, Willie, and D-Mace coming up in just a few minutes as they're going to be at Pete and Terry's Tavern at Bridgestone Arena. Predators taking on the Minnesota Wild tonight. And, of course, tomorrow they'll wrap up their season against the Colorado Avalanche, but they'll be getting into Joe Rexroad's mock draft. Looking forward to that.
Oh, they're getting into Joe's?
Yeah.
It's ball heavy. Ball heavy.
Oh, is he? Are we WHMR or whatever?
Oh, the Homer.
The Homer. I saw the Homer Simpson gif the other day with
Incredible.
that. So you really got my wheels turning with your question to Jill, and I appreciate Jill Jelnick from Fox 17 for joining us on the whole 10,000 yard thing, because 10,000 yards is kind of that threshold for a running back when it comes to Canton talk. Now, he's a 2,000 yard rusher. He probably would have done it again and been the first to do it twice had he not gotten hurt, because he was on pace to just shatter that in that year. And so, I mean, that's something to consider too. And I don't think you get into the Hall of Fame on what you could have done, but that I think that's something that people will bring up. But he's done it in less games and less carries than you look at Eddie George, and Eddie George was about 400 yards over that 10,000 yard mark. Now, I think there is an argument for Eddie to be in the Hall of Fame. I think one day he probably does get in there.
I agree.
I think he almost gets punished for, one, they didn't win the Super Bowl, and two, I make the argument with Derek that Derek gets punished because of the offense that he played in. He played in a very run-heavy offense. Well, people might look at Eddie and punish him for the same thing because, hey, you're in a run-heavy offense and you only had 68 touchdowns. But, that you
also to develop your offense around your best players.
Yeah, and I think Steve took took some touchdowns from him with the type of quarterback he was. That's an interesting argument, but just to put it in perspective, and I looked up Chris Johnson too, because he's to me, Chris Johnson might be the only 2,000 yard rusher that won't go to Canton, because he's just below that 10,000 yard threshold. He missed it by about 400 yards. He has 55 touchdowns in his career, 130 games. Things really fell off. He got beat up for him, but he does have a 2,000 yard rushing season, and so I think that's why he's even in those conversations. I don't think Chris is a Hall of Famer. I think Chris was really good, but I don't think he's a Hall of Famer. Derek, though, I think so.
Yeah, I mean, I think, too, when you talk about making it into the Hall of Fame and, becoming a part of that, they call it the brotherhood, like another level of that brotherhood, you have to add longevity to it too, right? Chris Johnson, he had a 2,000 yard season, but as you mentioned, he really, really dropped off. And we talk about the running back position and how tough it is, how nobody's ever done back-to-back 2,000 yard seasons because of how hard it is to do that, whether it be an injury or because we can say, well, Derek probably would have done it. Well, he got hurt and he didn't. There's always been something where somebody hasn't been able to, make that production year in and year out. And I think what Derek has done is he's consistently led the league in rushing. I mean, he was second this year. He had an opportunity to win it, and he also didn't play in the Dallas game.
Yeah.
You think about that, and think about the offensive line. He was right behind, and think about the other offensive threats they had on the field. Pretty much just him, So when you talk about, I think of the one shot, and I can't remember which game it was, but when the entire offensive line was pushing Derek, and it was, what game, or It was a home game, and there's the picture of them, the whole O-line just pushing Derek through, and what he's been able to do, and to look at Eddie George's stats and his career in the NFL, and to see, you would hate to see Derrick Henry not be recognized because he was never able to, win a Super Bowl, right?
And I'm also, you're going to hear this a lot from me when you're talking about Canton and those things, and you're talking about individual accomplishments, and somebody said, well, they didn't win a ring. Okay, yes, that is important, but a Super Bowl championship is a team accomplishment. You shouldn't hold that, the fact that they didn't win that against somebody when it comes to an individual award or accomplishment, which is the Hall of Fame.
I mean, it definitely helps your case.
Right.
You were a part of something that's really, really hard to do.
Sure.
But, I mean, Philip Rivers will probably be in the Hall of Fame someday. What is his notch?
Yeah. I mean, Rivers is interesting. Ryan from Chicago was kind of arguing with me about McNair. And I have said, like, when I look at Mac, Eddie, and D-Mace, I lean Eddie and D-Mace in, Mac cusp. And all three, I guess, are on the cusp. But, and yes, I'm biased towards Derek. But, I do think if you look at the era in which he played and the special teams, which nobody wants to recognize that. When looking at D-Mace for the Hall of Fame, you just look at the receiving numbers. You got to look at special teams too, and to me that gives him the edge, and that's why it should be in. But there we go. That's my soapbox.
Happy Friday for
the
me.
Day. Happy Friday for you. I'll be back tomorrow with Junnie Riddle and Nick Keyser. Predators in action tonight against the Wild. Caroline, Willie, and D-Mace breaking down Joe Rexroad's mock draft.
Vol draft.
The Vol draft coming up next here on 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
ElectronicExpress.com